Okay. Hallo und guten Abend.
Guten Abend, Sir.
Ja, können Sie mich ganz klar hören?
Ja, ganz klar.
Okay, gut. Vielen Dank, dass Sie jetzt hier sind und teilnehmen an unserer Live-Stunde für German 2. Yeah, so I'll begin by welcoming all of you to the live session. I hope that the course is not having too many hiccups. I hope the course is going all right. There are not too many hiccups either in terms of assignments or now the exams are to be held end of this month. So I hope things are on schedule as far as everyone is concerned. I will normally we ask you to fill in questions in an online Excel sheet, and there are 3 questions which have come to us through that. So I think I will take them first, and then we can go to live interaction. Whoever has a question, you can either type it in the chat box, or basically if it is, or you can just unmute yourselves and ask the question. We can do that as well. But right now, please stay muted, because I'll just go through the questions. I'll read them out and then we will try to resolve them. It's not much. I think Vikram, is that Vikram Shekhawat who has asked the question? There are 2 questions from Vikram. First one is about the exam. Is it permitted to take a pencil, pen, and plain paper during the exam? So you can, of course, take your pencil and pen with you. You will be provided with a rough working sheet. So that is not, you don't need to take paper. I don't think they will allow you to take paper also. So, but paper you will get inside the exam hall. You will get a rough sheet of paper to for any scribbling you might want to do. And of course, pen and pencil you can take along with you. So that is one question. Then there is a very interesting question again from Vikram. Can artificial intelligence replace translators, interpreters in the near future? Yeah, I mean, that is a very existential question as far as we are concerned. Because, but yes, I mean, why in the future? I mean, if you look at things, something like Google Translate today, I mean, I have tried it out a couple of times myself, and I think Google Translate, for example, is not bad in the sense if the text is not very complicated, the text is fairly straightforward, especially things like technical translation or things like translation where there is not too much of implied meaning, like literary texts or creative texts, where you might want to, a poem, you might want to really need to interpret, and for that, a human brain's ability, a human affective abilities, that is our ability to feel and to empathize, those might be required for translating something that is a literary text. But if it is a technical translation, for example, or even to an extent a legal translation, provided the context is already fed into the system, because when we do legal translations from one language, let's say an Indian legal text, something that's presented in the Indian court, you want to take it to a German court, then the legal terminology is different. The legal context in which the German law has evolved is a different context as compared to the Indian law. There is so much of colonial carry forward in our law, which is not there in the German law, because the Germany as a nation state was not colonized by any powers. So if this contextual clarity is there, I'm sure that that AI can do such translations as well. So I have no problem in admitting that AI might be able to replace, to a large extent, translators. Interpreters, I'm not sure, because interpretation is a much more spontaneous task, unless it is, of course, consecutive interpretation, which means unless it is simultaneous interpretation, which means that you're given a text to prepare, and then as a speech is being made, for example, in a big conference, a very big public speaker is a president or a prime minister is speaking in their own language, and then the speech is being at the same time simultaneously broadcast through different channels in various languages. That is, you pick up the earpiece and you put it inside and you'll hear that same speech in your language because it is simultaneously being interpreted by somebody sitting in the studio. So, but there generally what happens is you get a text to prepare. And so if that kind of a thing is there, then even interpretation, but where there is need for a one-to-one communication between the interpreter and the person who requires interpretation, or the persons who require interpretation, there I think we will still need to go some way for AI to replace interpreters. And similarly, like for example, we are right now involved in a very interesting exercise of translating German literature into Indian languages. So when that kind of a thing happens, there AI might have its limitations, because then when you are translating a poem or a short story or a small part of a novel from, let's say, German into Marathi or into Bangla, then you might need the human intervention to actually make the choice of words, make the sentence structure in such a manner that it corresponds to being a creative text or an artistic piece of work, piece of art. Yeah, so I hope, Vikram, if you're there, I hope I have answered that question. And we shall see how it goes. I mean, maybe in 5 years from now, you might not require NPTEL German courses to learn German. It might all be all AI facilitated, but that we will see. Then there is a question. Am I audible clearly? Can someone please tell me whether I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Very much clear.
Okay, thank you. Then there is a question from Srihari about the difference in Hilfsverb in present, past, and future tenses. Now, I didn't exactly get the question. So Srihari, if you're present, you could, I'll just check if there are any questions in the YouTube. YouTube, there are 67 views, okay. And I'll just say a good evening. Okay, so there are no questions there. I'll come back to our Zoom meeting. I don't know, Srihari doesn't seem to have logged in, but I'm not very sure about the question, what he means by difference in Hilfsverb between present, past, and future tenses. Now, the present, I mean, I'm just saying it, maybe they might record and they might be able to see later what exactly. So present tense, as we know in German, the present tense requires no Hilfsverb. The present tense is just the conjugation of the verb that we do. And in fact, the present tense, the conjugation that we do, such as ich mache die Hausaufgabe, or ich trinke Milch, or ich trinke Wasser. This simple sentence in the present tense actually covers both. I drink water as a statement, as well as currently at present, I am drinking water, that also. So it covers present tense as well as present continuous tense. Ich trinke Wasser. So we don't really require Hilfsverb in the present tense. Similarly, in the past tense as well. In the past tense also, we don't require a Hilfsverb for the past tense itself. For the perfect tense that we have learned in German 1 already, of course, we require two Hilfsverben, and that is the case in English as well. If you are going to make a sentence in the present perfect tense, such as I have eaten breakfast, to have eaten. In this present perfect sentence, we need the auxiliary verb have, and we need the past participle eaten. So similarly, ich habe gefrühstückt in German. Okay, ich habe gefrühstückt. So habe we need as the Hilfsverb, which we will conjugate and which will be the active verb in the second place in the sentence. And then gefrühstückt is the past participle or the partizip of frühstücken, which will go to the end of the sentence. So this is in German, of course, as we have learned, there are two possibilities, haben or sein. You can also have the many verbs, especially not especially, but basically the verbs that are sentences with verbs that indicate a movement from point A to point B, such as gehen, fahren, laufen, and so on and so forth. We have seen that these verbs, their present perfect form, we construct with the help of sein and not with haben, which means ich bin. If I went to the cinema yesterday, then ich bin gestern ins Kino gegangen. So that is the Hilfsverb in the. There is no Hilfsverb in the present and the past. Okay. In the perfect tense, yes, you can have haben or sein in German. Haben for most verbs, sein for verbs that indicate, for sentences with verbs that indicate movement, such as ins Kino gehen or zum Bahnhof gehen or nach Pondicherry fahren, whatever. Okay, those sentences will take sein as the Hilfsverb. And there are a few exceptions to this rule, such as the verb sein itself, which is to be. So I have been to London to look at the Queen. I mean, if I say I have been, then ich bin gewesen. Ich bin damals in London gewesen. Okay, so ich bin gewesen, I have been. Then bleiben, which you might remember is to stay or to remain, bleiben. In fact, strangely enough, bleiben is the very opposite of movement. It actually negates movement. It means to stay in a place and not move. And yet bleiben is one verb where the perfect tense, we need sein as the auxiliary verb and not haben. So if I stayed in Frankfurt for 3 days, then ich bin 3 Tage in Frankfurt geblieben. Okay, bin geblieben, not habe, bin geblieben. Yeah, so the two Hilfsverben in the perfect tense we have seen are sein and haben. And in the future tense actually, one of the very useful things about the German present tense is that the present tense can also function as a simple future tense if we simply add the indicator of time. I think I mentioned this in the lectures. We have done a few examples as well, you might remember, in German one also. So if I'm going to do something next year, let's say I'm saying I will learn Japanese next year. Now this is a very simple sentence in the future tense, which expresses my intention, my resolve to learn Japanese in the future. I will learn Japanese next year. But now I don't need the will learn, this combination of an auxiliary or a Hilfsverb and learn, will learn. I don't actually need it in German. There is ich werde etwas machen. That possibility is there, but we actually don't need it. In the sense, I can simply say in German, ich lerne nächstes Jahr Japanisch. Ich lerne Japanisch. I learn German. I am learning German. But if I add nächstes Jahr, that phrase indicating time, to the sentence, then the sentence means I will learn German next year. Okay. So with that, ich lerne Deutsch or Japanisch can mean I learn Japanese, can mean I am learning Japanese. And if I add nächstes Jahr, it can also mean I will learn Japanese next year. Okay. So otherwise, in the future tense, there is the auxiliary verb in German is werden, which we have also seen. And you just construct sentences with ich werde etwas tun, meaning, but in German, the werde plus your verb, whatever it is it expresses a fairly strong resolve. Actually, it is not just the future tense. It is also a statement in the sense I will definitely do something. In that sense, it is a stronger. It has a stronger construct, or it's meant in a stronger way than a simple future tense. It's meant more in the way of a resolve. Okay. Ich werde etwas machen. Yeah. So I hope, Srihari, if you're listening either on YouTube or if you hear it later, the recording, I hope I have answered your question regarding Hilfsverben or auxiliary verbs. As best I could understand what you were trying to ask. But that is all. I have only 3 questions from learners who have actually posted questions online. Otherwise, now we can open the session. If anybody has a question or an observation, then you please raise your hand, and so that we have a certain sequence in which we can go. Please go ahead and ask your question. You can, I think it is possible for you to unmute yourselves, but please raise the hand so that we have a certain sequence in which to go. I'm just checking the chat box of the YouTube live, but there is no, there are no questions in the chat box on YouTube. So we'll come back to our Zoom, and yeah, Chanchal Lalwani has raised their hand. Chanchal, yes, please.
Very good evening, sir. I'm great to talk to you here. Sir, my question is, I am always confused between dative and accusative. I want to clearness from the guidance.
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Chanchal. Can you please once again say what you're asking?
Yes, sir, my question is, I am always confused between dative and accusative. So I want your guidance on it.
No, sorry. I'm very, very sorry, but I didn't get
Okay.
the question. Yeah, because your voice is breaking at the most crucial moments. So maybe you could type the question, Chanchal, in the chat box. Could you please do that? The chat box is okay. Okay. This is Ramkripal Sharma is saying, I have suggestion, request to start the chapters with their objectives. Okay, fine. I will. We will have a look at the entire set of videos during the break this time, during the vacation. And see, one response to Mr. Ramkripal Sharma is, yeah, I think you're there. See, the thing is that I was not very comfortable recording a course in front of a camera. I thought it would be very boring to simply teach a camera German, and then it would be so it was an experiment we did for the first time, or maybe second time in NPTEL itself, that we simply put cameras and mics in my classroom, and whatever happened in the classroom, the entire interaction was captured live. And then we tried to during editing, we tried to make it give it a sequence and put in some extra slides in places and all that. So it was a thing that has been captured live. So there are, I know that there are certain gaps in the lectures. I'm aware of that. And but generally we try to cover it with the assignments. And I mean, I also try and make sure that whatever comes in the assignment is there somewhere in the lectures. So I understand what you mean. And maybe it is time now that the courses have run for about 4 years now, I think 3 or 4 years. Maybe it's time to revisit them and see whether we can make adjustments to certain things, like what you're pointing out. I mean, for example, I could record a short 2-minute video before every lecture, which would be placed before the lecture video, in which I might illustrate or point out or indicate the topics that will be covered, with a few illustrative examples so that it is easier to follow for people who are doing it online. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I take a suggestion in
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for pointing it out, because I hope that if you have done some other online courses which are recorded for the camera, I don't know whether you notice a difference between those courses and this German course, where we have several times live interaction between the students and myself, or with Shashi Rekha, who's also
Sir, most of the courses, technical courses from IIT are without students.
yes.
And your course is only with student, and I appreciate you and my other colleagues also that you should have some students, so that basically teaching aptitude will remain.
Yeah, I think that the
Otherwise,
interactive
without a student, I'm not comfortable with other course which I usually do.
So, because I think teaching learning is an interactive experience, and that interactive experience should be there in the online this thing also. That was the idea. So anyway, but thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Definitely take it on board.
Thank you.
And this thing. Okay, then we continue with Vikram Shekhawat's question. So if AI can replace transinterpreters, it means that language learning won't help much in career in future as it is doing today. Jobs for foreign language learners will disappear with every coming day. See, my Vikram is also present. Good. See, my primary motivation behind learning a foreign language. I mean to say, I have already said it, I think, in the introduction to German 1 as well, or German 2 now, I'm not sure. But I also consider it very valuable for us to learn Indian languages also. I mean, I am a Maharashtrian. My mother tongue is Marathi, but I am quite, I consider Hindi as well as, I can speak Hindi as well as I can speak Marathi and German and English. But I did make it an attempt to once I shifted to Chennai, to get conversant with Tamil. And I feel it is very important for us to learn languages within India as well. It is, and see for me, I mean, it's slightly ironical because foreign language is my career, but I still feel that the basic point of learning a foreign language is just that it gives you a totally different perspective on the world. I mean, as I said, our perspective on the global affairs, for example, on everything that's happening around the world, we get it through English. We've always got it through English. And the English language really is the one that models, that conditions what view we get of the world. But if I become conversant enough in German to be able to appreciate the German media, and how does the German language, how is the entire reality in the global context in the world, how is it mediated through the German language? It's a different position. It's a different history through which the German mind is looking at the world. And it suddenly opens up to me that there's a different perspective on everything that's happening in the world, everything that's happening in India as well. There's a different perspective. So I get to see myself through a different perspective. And I think that is a very important experience. And that a foreign language enables us to do. And again, as I said, for me, being a Maharashtrian who is well versed in Marathi and Hindi, even learning Bangla or learning Telugu or learning Tamil well enough to be able to read literature in Bangla or newspapers and media and all, I think that is very important, because then I get a totally different perspective on my own reality and my own self. So that is the primary motivation behind language learning. So language learning will not become redundant. Okay, that a foreign language learning will not become redundant, because if we understand its objective in that sense. The question regarding the AI replacing translators, interpreters, that question, I think we can, I've already spoken about it, which also means that yes, if AI can do simple mechanical translations more efficiently than human beings, then just like in the industry, mechanization has replaced has not replaced, but mechanization has basically led to cutting of jobs. Similarly, here also it could happen that that there are better algorithms to do translations, and even context-specific translation or context-sensitive translations, in which means that there might be no longer a requirement for translation interpreters, but that is still a long way away. Okay, that is still a long way away. I think it is still the human element in translation and interpretation is very, very important. As I just said earlier, that it is also an encounter with a different culture, and that encounter with different culture is very important for my own development as a person, for my own personality. And in that sense, also we should look at foreign language learning, not only about the career in future, or at some point of time, I think humans will, I mean, we already have, I don't know whether any of you are doing research in anthropology or in sociology and other humanities disciplines, but we already have research which deals with post-work society where humans don't work because humans don't need to work. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, post-work society. How do you deal with what do you do? What do humans do in post-work societies? What do they spend their time doing? What are their values? How do they value labor? Do they value labor? And so on and so forth. So there is a sense of post-work society as well. So in your question, you can at some point of time it will come. I suppose that everything that needs labor will be mechanized. That might come at some point of time, and then we might get to learn German language just for the pleasure of learning German language. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem. I hope that it's a very interesting question. Thank you for opening this topic, because it's a very interesting topic, and it's always good to remind ourselves that the primary motivation for learning a foreign language is actually human, and that sense of what is the other all about, what is that foreignness. Once I get a sense for it, it completely changes me also. I mean, yeah, I can share with you that learning or studying German literature actually brought me back to Marathi literature and made me read the history of Marathi literature. I mean, once doing our MA in German, we were reading history of German literature, and then at some point of time, I asked myself, why don't I know what happened in Maharashtra, what happened in Marathi literature during this time? I need to find out. So I had to. I thank learning German for bringing back to Marathi literature also.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, then there is Atharva who's asking about the exam pattern. Okay, so this question, of course, I was expecting someone to ask. The exam pattern is pretty much like the assignment pattern. I mean, this is one of the things. Many of you might be teachers yourselves, and we know that teachers also have a constraint as to in what way can we ask questions. There are certain given patterns. So when we design assignments, we set questions so that you can recall, and you can apply, and you can recognize things that you're learning. And the same thing will be there in the exam as well. So there will be 4 sections for the exam: audio, that is listening comprehension, reading comprehension, grammar, and there will be a short section in which you'll be asked to write a small passage, either an email, or I might ask you to translate a passage from English into German, or the other way around, where you'll have to write, but not more than maybe between 50 and 100 words, because being an online examination, we're also constrained by word limits. So the box that you will get to write that answer in will have a word limit of, let's say, 100 words. So you write 100 words, meaning you can write maximum maybe 10 to 12 sentences. So that kind of quote unquote composition, okay, will be there, or translation, but short ones. and that is, I think, if I remember right, that's for 10 marks. The other 3 sections are 30 marks each. That is Hörverständnis, which is listening comprehension, Leseverständnis, which is reading comprehension, and actually you have Schriftliche Ausdruck, which we have for 10 marks, but the other major thing is grammar. But grammar also has a lot of how much you recall, but also how much you can apply in the grammar that you've learned. How much of it can you actually look at the question and select the right? Most of the questions are, in fact, in the listening comprehension and in the reading comprehensions. I think all questions, if I'm not mistaken, are multiple choice or true and false, that kind of a thing. So I think you won't need to type anything in the first 2 sections. In the grammar section, there might be 2 or 3 tasks which might involve short answers where you fill in the blank and write the word in the blank, which is provided. Please type carefully. I think there is an instruction in the beginning of every assignment also that because this is all, the evaluation is also computerized. So if you make a typo, then the computer can't unfortunately recognize the typo as a typo, but will mark it as a mistake. So please type carefully and use the alternatives, that is AE, UE, OE for umlaut and SS for beta, because that we can program in the computer saying that recognize either the SZ or the SS as correct answer. That much we can do. But if you make other typos, then that is something we cannot control for. Right. Then the other thing about the question pattern that I was going to say, I'm still answering Atharva's question, I think. 1 second, where is the question gone? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so short answer type questions will be there only in the grammar section, as far as I remember. Then audios will be available for as many times as you want. It is not as if you listen to the audio once and then it gets... some of you might have written the German 1 exam earlier. I don't know if there are any here who have written the German 1 exam. Then you would know that audios are accessible any number of times at any time. And you have an overall limit of 3 hours within which you can shift between sections. It's not as if you finish section 1 in 45 minutes and move on to section 2 and so on and so forth. It is not like that. You can keep looking at questions and come back to something if it strikes you later, ki iska answer ye hai. You can come back to it later and solve it. So that is... have I answered all your doubts? Have I clarified all your doubts, Atharva? Okay. Then there is a question about dative and accusative. Okay, I will... Chanchal has put a question in there. I'll come back to that. Yeah, then Ramkripal Sharma is saying that IIT should continue to make efforts to recognize these certificates in Deutschland. In fact, I agree with you totally. And we will see what... I mean, this is not... I mean, it's a thing that also brings in a lot of diplomacy and policy and things like that. So it is not that simple to convince the Germans that we teach German also quite okay, not so bad. So, but yes, actually we will continue efforts. I mean, we are making efforts and we will continue to make efforts to have some sort of agreements with institutions in Germany that offer certification, international certification. If we can tie up with that, NPTEL can tie up with that, then it will be nice. I also hope that we can do it, but it is, as I said, I'm sure you understand that it is not very simple, because it is an international affair, in the sense it will be between 2 countries. And so there will have to be, there are policy issues there. There are several issues that we have to negotiate. But yeah, it can be done, and maybe hopefully it will happen. Then yeah, I'll just check once whether there are any questions on YouTube. and then come back here. Okay, there are no questions on YouTube as yet. So we'll come back to the Zoom meeting. And yeah, Chanchal's question between accusative and dative. I think if the see the if subject object, this separation is clear to you within a sentence, that a sentence basically has at the heart of it is the verb, the action, what is happening in the sentence, and that verb which is an action word, there will be somebody who's doing the action, and that is the subject of the sentence. In grammatical terms, is subject to the sentence. Subject to the sentence can be a person, can be a thing. I can say that we are having a conversation about German 2. So we are having a conversation. We are all subject in this sentence. We are having what? A conversation. It's an object that we are engaged in right now. Okay. About German 2, that is that describes what the conversation is about. That's a separate thing. So this is so here we are the subject. Okay, I am discussing. I can say I'm explaining accusative dative. So explaining is happening. That's the action. I am doing it, subject. And what am I explaining? Accusative dative, object. Okay. So if you're clear about that, now if I take the same thing that I'm explaining, I explain accusative dative, then I can complicate the sentence by one more step by saying I'm explaining to you accusative and dative. Now there's another third entity that's come into the sentence, which is you. I'm still explaining accusative dative, and then you are the people affected by that action, that you are either understanding or not understanding at all, whatever I'm doing. Okay, accusative dative. So, but then that third entity in the sentence becomes the indirect object or the dative object. And we say, I send my friend an email. Simple sentence like that. I send my friend an email. Sending is happening. That is the main action that's happening. Who is sending? I am sending. Subject, or in grammatical terms, nominative. Ich schicke, I send. I send what? An email. Direct object or accusative. That which is being sent is the email, and that is accusative. And I send to whom? An email. To my friend. That's dative. The friend is going to get the mail because I send it. Okay, so that indirectly the friend is going to be affected by my action of sending the mail. So the friend becomes the dative or the indirect object. And then the forms you have to learn. Accusative and dative forms. For example, if I say Ram is my friend, I like him. Ram is my friend, I like him. Here, him is a direct object, actually. I like him is an accusative object. And then I send him a gift. In the next sentence, the him, I send Ram a gift, him is a dative object. Actually, the gift is the accusative object. But in English, there is no difference between him and him. These two forms. In English, there's no, but in German, there is. The German is a much more specific language in terms of, as we have seen, in terms of genders, in terms of verb conjugations, in terms of forms of pronouns. It's a much more specific language. And so we need to learn these forms, and we need to apply these forms when we use when we construct sentences in German, or when we speak in German, and so on and so forth. So Ram ist mein Freund. Ich mag ihn. IHN, N for November. Ich mag ihn. Accusative form. And ich schenke ihm ein Buch. In the second sentence, I'm gifting him a book. Then ich schenke ihm, M for München. Ich schenke ihm ein Buch. Because that him in this sentence is actually dative form. So these forms are there in our lectures, in the notes, in the book. These forms are there. You have to learn those forms. But primary thing to understand what is a direct object and what is an indirect object. If that is clear, you take any example. I send my friend an email. We'll stick to this. Email, direct, friend, indirect. Usually it is that the direct object is a thing and the indirect object that you send or write to somebody or gift to somebody is usually a person. So dative is usually a person, accusative is usually an object, but not necessarily so. Okay. But generally speaking, if there are both of them in a sentence, the thing will be accusative and the person will be dative. Have I reduced your confusion?
Yes, sir. It's clear now very much.
Okay, I hope I've not confused you even more now. Okay.
It's clear now.
It's fine.
So much.
But as I said, this is not enough. You have to learn the forms, and you have to do at least a few exercises to so that the form becomes what do you say, set in your mind. Okay.
Sure, sir. I will. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
sir.
Then the next question is Atharva again asked number of questions in this section. Atharva, I actually don't remember exact number of questions in each section, but I do remember that we have split it into 30 marks each. 1, 2, 3 sections, and then the last section you'll have 2 questions. You'll have to write 2 texts or translate one and write one small composition, something like that. But there'll be 2 tasks in the last section. In the first audio, reading comprehension and grammar, see, normally, as you would have seen in the assignments also, each of the questions that we have in the assignment is either for 1 mark or half a mark. Usually it's 1 mark or half a mark. The similar pattern will be there in the exam also, which means that if you say a mix of 1.5 marks, then you'll have about 15 plus 50, 15 plus 30. Let's say about between 40 and 50 sub questions in each section. Okay. And by my, I've usually I actually, once the paper is set, I actually sit and solve the paper myself in the studio. So usually it is, you also know that once you see the question, since it's very objective type, you either know the answer or don't know the answer. So which means you don't spend more than on every multiple choice question. I'm not talking about audio. Audio is separate. But in reading comprehension and in grammar, especially in grammar, you either know the answer or don't know the answer, which means half a minute on a question is more than sufficient. But maybe a minute. I would also like to, if you have not answered an NPTEL exam, German exam before, German 1, for example, if you have not done it before on NPTEL, then please be a little wary about spending too much time on the audio questions. Okay, because what happens is that if you think that you're not following certain a particular audio question, or you don't know the answer, then just move on. Just move on and do other questions. And this thing, maybe you will come across some vocabulary in the other questions, which might help you to go back and understand the ones that you were not understanding. So I would suggest to be aware of how much time you're spending on the audio questions. Okay. And don't, you can always come back to it later on once you've finished the other sections. You can come back to it and then try and listen more carefully if you're not getting any of the audio questions that are there. Right. I hope now that question has been answered. I'm going back to the YouTube chat or YouTube live to see if anybody has got a question there. No, there are no questions on that. So we'll come back here. Yeah, if you have any question, please raise your hand and we can. It's actually nice to if we can talk. Is there anybody who's present who has done German 1 also?
Yes, sir. Yes, through NPTEL I qualified German 1.
I have
Okay.
also qualified.
Oh, okay, that's nice. And so you're familiar with the pattern now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you'll do German 3 also, because German 3 actually it was quite a challenge because we recorded German 3 during COVID, and then we used particular. I think it was one of the Zoom classroom softwares where every student, but we gathered together. I mean, students were. I'm really appreciative of that entire batch, which actually came 2.5 hours every day in the morning. They would be there from their homes. They would log in their online avatars and be there in the classroom. And then we recorded that entire conversation live again, as we have done, but it's virtual. So, but the students are there in German 3 as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. We hope so. We will do German 3 with you.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
And let me know how it feels, the virtual experience of German 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Naina, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Okay, there is one question from Rajesh in the YouTube chat, which is Aufstehen past participle. Aufstehen past participle aufgestanden. Ich bin aufgestanden. Aufgestanden. That is the past participle of Aufstehen. But that's all. I mean, that's. Okay. Otherwise, there seem to be no questions here. Oh, thank you, Ram Kripalji. But I'll be here. I mean, if there are other people who might join late and or if any of you have any further doubts, I mean, we can. One of the things I'm going back to Chanchal's question about accusative and dative. One of the things that we have to also keep in mind is, so just like accusative and dative, subject-object difference can change the forms of nouns and pronouns, articles and pronouns. So can prepositions, because I mean, even in English, if you see, if I do something, he is my friend, and I do something for, it's not he. The for will change the he to him, which means the for, that preposition, will change the form of that person from he to him. Okay, so every preposition has this quality that it will change the form to an object form of any of the thing or person attached to that preposition. And that happens in German as well. And in German, as we know, there is a distinction. There's a distinction between the accusative and dative forms, which in English is not there. No apparent distinction between accusative and dative forms, which in German is there. So we have to, as you all know, there are lists of prepositions. There are prepositions which change the object into the dative form, Dative Präpositionen, then there are Accusative Präpositionen, then there are Wechsel Präpositionen, which can be either, for which there are rules. All this is there. So what I'm trying to say is that once we know the forms, once we know that For feminine nouns, subject article is D, accusative article is D, dative article is der. For neuter, it is das, dame. For masculine, der, den, dame. Once we have learned that this is the way forms change in German, then we can also apply this. We have to first of all retain this knowledge. Okay, retention is very important. And then when we come across prepositions with certain qualities, such as dative prepositions or accusative prepositions, then we should remember to apply those forms that we have learned for, let's say, mit. Ich gehe mit dem Freund ins Kino. I go with the friend to the cinema. Then the moment I use mit in German, my brain should be conditioned to apply that particular bit of knowledge that I've learned, dative form. Anything that is attached to mit should be in its dative form. I should be able to. So once we learn accusative and dative, we should also remember that we have to apply this knowledge for prepositions. Is that clear? I mean, does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. It's making
Yeah.
sense. Thank you.
So please explain this pronoun, order of pronoun in dative and accusative.
Which one?
Order of the pronouns. You have explained in a video.
The order of pronouns.
Order of pronouns in the sentence in dative and
Ah,
accusative.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting.
This is very
yeah.
very confusing.
No. There is a very simple thing.
Yeah, please explain.
So normal. I think I've explained in the lecture also. Normal.
Yeah.
Everything is a noun. Everything are nouns. Then it is NDA. Okay. Or
Yeah.
we said
NDA.
National Defense Academy. NDA. Nominative, dative, accusative. Ich schenke dem Freund ein Buch. Okay, that is the standard sequence. If everything is a noun. Now,
NAD.
no, NDA.
This is NDA. Now NAD.
So now the thing is that if the accusative object changes from noun to pronoun,
Okay.
it becomes NAD.
Okay.
Okay. So shall I type it in the chat box?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to change it to everyone. Yeah. So I'm just typing 3 sentences. It will be, first will be Ich schenke dem Freund ein Buch. And that will be our NDA example, standard example to begin with. Ich schenke, I'll cap it, dem Freund ein Buch. Dash is NDA. That is nominative, dative, accusative. Okay. This is our standard beginning. Now Ram is my friend. I'm gifting him a book. Okay. If Ram changes from Freund, noun, to him, pronoun, dative object, there is no change. The order still remains NDA. So, Ram ist mein Freund. Ich schenke ihm ein Buch. Order is still NDA. Is that clear? So what has happened is our friend from dem Freund, I have replaced that with him, a pronoun, the dative object, but that has not affected the sequence. Is that clear?
If subject is pronoun. In
Sorry?
this case, subject is pronoun.
Which one?
It's Ram. Ram is
No. You forget Ram. That is Ram ist mein Freund is I have taken it only to construct the context.
Okay. Each is the subject noun.
Ish is a bit. Ish Schenker. Okay.
The subject is replaced by pronoun.
No.
The noun is
Wait.
replaced by.
Sorry. Wait. 1 second. Can I delete a message here? I can't delete a message, right?
No.
So it's okay. So we'll take it again. Ish Schenker dem Freund ein Buch. Here the pattern is, or the sequence is NDA. You ignore the earlier one. This is clear, no? Ich schenke dem Freund ein Buch. NDA.
Okay.
Then now, if I'm saying instead of dem Freund, I gift the friend a book. I want to replace the friend with him. I gift him a book. So I would say ich schenke ihm ein Buch. Sequence is still NDA.
Yes.
Yeah, ठीक है रामकृपाल जी, this is okay.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is कि अभी the sentence we have begun with ich schenke dem Freund ein Buch. We have taken ich is a subject.
Yes.
I. We have taken a person, Freund, and we have taken an object or a thing, a book. So
dative pronoun.
Dative is friend.
Now it is converted into pronoun.
And accusative is book. And now I am changing the dative, I am putting into the pronoun form. I am saying that I give him a book. But that will not affect the sequence.
Okay.
It will still remain NDA. But if I change, if I say that I buy a book and then I gift it to my friend, if the book is replaced by it, then the order changes. So this thing is the principle that we draw from it, or rule that we draw from it, is that if the accusative object, the moment it becomes a pronoun, it will be NAD and not NDA. Okay, so ich schenke, let's say, das Buch ist interessant. I'm just creating a context. Now I'm talking about a book. This book is interesting, and I gift it to my friend. Now in the second sentence, the book is the direct object, but I'm replacing the book with it, a pronoun. That will change the sequence. Ich schenke es dem Freund. Here, sequence becomes NAD. I think this is what you're referring to from the lectures. I have dealt with this in one of the lectures. So
S and friend. Okay. And if all three are pronouns,
it doesn't matter.
Subject is pronoun, and this dative is also pronoun, and this.
It doesn't matter. The moment
you explained one example in the video.
Yeah. So, matlab,
that will also be NAD.
NAD. The moment accusative is pronoun, NAD. Doesn't matter if the dative is noun or pronoun, doesn't matter. Okay. So if I'm replacing both now, suppose I'm saying Ram is my friend and this is an interesting book. Now I have both friend and book. and I'm going to gift it to him. So it and him, both accusative and dative, are going to be pronouns. Ish. One second. Sorry. Ish Schenke
Yes.
es ihm. Ich schenke es ihm.
Yeah.
So whether it is the dative, whether it is dem Freund or ihm, doesn't matter. The crux of the matter is the accusative.
This is also NAD.
This is also NAD. If both are pronoun, also it is NAD. So, which means that the moment the accusative becomes pronoun, you have to change the order.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Here also the sequence is NAD. Okay, so still I don't have any questions on the YouTube channel. That's also live. So we can come back to what is the time now?
It's around
We are already past the time.
7 p.m.
Yeah, but anyway, if anybody has any urgent questions that need an answer, we can still spend a couple of minutes. But thank you for I really like the fact that we had, apart from grammar questions, we also had some very interesting questions about artificial intelligence and the future of foreign language learning. That is always a nice thing to discuss because, the changes that are happening are quite significant in terms of how things will change, how technology is always also accelerating, right? I mean, even the rate of change of technology is increasing always, which means things will happen even faster in the future. So it's always interesting to. Then there is a German one and given A2 from MMB. Can I connect on LinkedIn with you or further guidance? So Atharva, have you written A2 or are you going to write A2 or what? Sorry?
Hello?
Yes.
Sir, I have completed A2.
Okay. So you've given the exam also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not on LinkedIn, Atharva, but you can write to my official email ID. It's my surname, Brahme, BRAHME @iitm.ac.in. You can always write to me. And if you have any doubts or if you want to clarify anything, feel free to write to me on my official email ID. Is also there on the IIT website. You will find me under the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. And my email ID will be there on the IIT Madras website. So, yeah. If there are no more questions, then vielen Dank. Vielen Dank für Ihre Teilnahme. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und für Ihr Interesse an der deutschen Sprache. Es ist sehr schön, dass Sie Interesse haben an der deutschen Sprache, dass Sie sich interessieren dafür, also die Sprache zu lernen. Und hoffentlich macht der Kurs, der NPTEL-Kurs Ihnen Spaß und dass Sie das auch, dass Sie nicht nur Deutsch lernen, sondern dass es Ihnen auch Spaß macht. It cannot replace. I know it cannot replace a live classroom because that is, of course, the language learning is still a human activity, and human presence, bodily presence in a classroom makes a lot of. In fact, we have just one of my students actually did a very small internal research on, because 2 batches learned German from IIT Madras, my students, but because of COVID, there were no classes, so 2 batches learned German online, but not through NPTEL, through a live interaction. And how does that compare with actually being in a classroom and having and being present in a classroom? What are the advantages of online learning? What are the advantages of classroom learning and all? It's quite interesting. So I know that it is different experience, but I hope that there is enough material there in our assignments and the lectures to keep you busy. Ja, vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen. Und alles Gute für die Prüfung. So I'll end the meeting now. Auf Wiedersehen.
Vielen Dank.
Wiedersehen.